In light of Miss Rona, the boys at BGO Pod have adapted a virtual platform to conduct and record interviews with this season's very special opinionated people, or VSOPs for short.
We thank you for bearing with any technical difficulties in advance. This pandemic has been raggedy, but in spite of, the conversations we've had with our VSOPs have been refreshing and were well worth the technical struggle.
This episode is also brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard already, Anchor is the easiest way to start your podcast.
Big facts. 1, it's free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your track straight from your phone or computer.
3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many, many more. And 4, you can make money with no limited listenership.
It's everything you need for a podcast in one place. Carlton and I have been using Anchor for a few months now, and we're a bit obsessed.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Don't wait, honey. Your future listeners are waiting.
Now, enjoy the show.
You have reached the voicemail box of
Carlton Taylor
and Sean Brinkley.
We are unable to answer the phone right now.
So either fuck off or enjoy the show.
Ain't a period.
We are live, baby.
Yes, we is. Ooh, let me start. I gotta start recording it, girl. I completely forgot how you do that shit.
And it's not even Wednesday, but we live.
It's not even Wednesday,
But we live.
but we live, baby. It is good
Y'all-
on Saturday.
Y'all about to get some of this. Y'all about to get some of this food action though, because I was hauling like a motherfucking slave. Hold up, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
You know, because you know, in
idea where
every
you're going.
in every slave movie, you always got like the horse carriage with them riding up to the front of the plantation house. I was about to say I was hauling like the horses on the slave carriages, but that's a lot. That's a real dark sort of reference, but I went to that reference because I was like, I was really working my ass off this morning, but it's a little dark, especially during that time, these times.
Yeah, that. So what are you
I don't know.
eating? I'm. This- Y'all pray for the kid. He is hungry. Okay,
No,
think
I have not. So it's a part of a Chipotle bowl, and then this is the rest of the cookout burger that I had from last night, and my Chipotle bowl was a little, you know, because you don't. Well, you be finishing your Chipotle bowls, but
Mhm.
I didn't finish my Chipotle bowl. So you know how you have like just a little bit, but it's not enough for like a full meal, like substance. So I threw
Yes.
some spinach, avocado, tomatoes on the side.
So you are eating a Chipotle bowl with a piece of cookout and a side salad.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna pray for your stomach because I don't know what the fuck. What type of protein did you get in your Chipotle bowl? Chicken and steak?
Mm-hmm. There's chicken.
Lord Jesus. Come on, cherry tomato. Yo, get y'all friend. Because I just don't, I don't know what to make out of this. You look good.
Thank you, child. I'll be trying.
Everything. Okay, so now y'all can see us in our foolishness. This man done pulled his hair back so that he can deeper into his Chipotle bowl. And
I'm
I
about
am screaming.
I was about to, I'm about to dig in,
Honey,
but
it
let me
don't
hurry
be
up.
a thing if you ain't got that swing. A doo-wop, 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 doo-wop.
With that dang-a-lang. Hey.
Swinging, Richards. Doo-wop, doo-wop, doo-wop. Oh my goodness, best friend. We doing this again. We made it to another season.
Amen. We alive.
Sean, you're gonna have to stop with this smack.
I'm about to stop. Hold on.
Jesus Christ. This man is hungry. It's okay though, because I'm thirsty. I'm just waiting for my Avion water to thaw out. Straight from the French Alps. Have you seen Down to Earth with Zac Efron?
No, they watch that white ass shit.
First off, Zac Efron is not considered white. He's just Zac Efron. No, you're right. You're absolutely correct. It's very white. But they have conversations with Black people and Indigenous people sometimes. But anyway, they was talking about the different types of water and how your water isn't supposed to be distilled because it removes the minerals from it. And it actually flushes the minerals that are in your body out, forcing you to have to replenish those minerals with either what you eat or with water that has the minerals in it. And so you're supposed to drink spring water or mineral water. And I got this water, it's called the olive oil of water. And I was indifferent about that. I was like, girl, I don't want my water thick. First off, I used to not like water. I thought water was nasty. I was like, it don't taste like nothing. I need some sugar. I need some tea, some Coke, something. Y'all didn't know y'all was signing up for an ASMR, period. That's literally, at this point, it's a part of our branding. We are an ASMR podcast.
Because I went through a period in time where I go the whole day, not a piece of meat, seeds, tomatoes, spinach, nothing. Nothing would come across my lips, my tongue, nothing.
That's suggestive.
Ooh, excuse me.
Nothing would come across my lips. Ooh,
Nothing. And I've just reached a point in my life. If I'm approaching the 3:00 hour and I have not swallowed something down my throat, and penis don't count. That's meat, but
you can't digest that. If you are, that's cannibalism.
Right. You can't eat that meat. I mean, you can.
Right.
But that's a different type of fulfillment. You know what I
Yeah, because you can have meat and still be hungry.
Right. So and I'm sorry, y'all. You know, I love y'all.
No, you're not.
But I refuse to pass out and
as you should.
just starve. Like starve to death. Like
Yeah, that shouldn't be an ambition in life.
yeah. And in life.
Uh-huh.
My ass hurts.
Yo, throwback. Sean and I were at the dollar store, and who was with us? Because it wasn't just the two of us.
I have no
Maybe
clue.
Brittany or something. somebody was with us and we were doing a parody of Pretty Hurts, and it was called My Ass Hurts. And it was about bottoming, but not being. And it was probably the most vulgar collaboration we've had to this day.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes, because anal never gets easier.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would compare anal in life. It's like I'm done. I'm done. Let's
go.
let's get on. Let's get on.
Because at this point, we're 10 minutes in, and y'all probably done clicked.
Right? They're like, y'all can't be taken seriously. Like, I don't even know y'all. This really how y'all starting? This really how y'all gonna start season 2?
And it's unfortunate because this season is very serious. But just like anything Black, we can laugh it off.
Right.
Like, we find jokes in the most inopportune times. It cannot be funny, but we will laugh because trauma is just, it's not funny, but we have to make it funny in order to get through.
Right.
Like,
Right.
We joke about shit that's like, if anybody else joked about it, we'd be about ready to pounce on their ass. But
Be like, girl, you can't say that.
Right. Hold on. Shot. Look at me. Look at me. You gotta look at me in the frame.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Yo, okay, so we're gonna offer y'all some context about what season 2 is about. And so, all jokes aside, everybody knows that life has been uplifted. Is that the right word? Uprooted?
Uprooted.
Uprooted in light of COVID-19. And so, in order for us to be able to successfully execute this new series that we're doing, this new conversation series in season 2, we had to adapt to a new profile or platform called that is beyond me. This platform that allows us to be able to see each other so that we can interact as if we're in each other's faces, but be in different virtual, like literally be in different spaces. But we enter this virtual green room and we're able to like layer the audio and all that great stuff. And so when we're inviting our guests on this year or this season, they're going to be joining us via and there's also going to be a video element to it. And so we're going to be using that in our marketing. And so a lot of the inside jokes that y'all are seeing or hearing rather are going to make sense when you look at our different social media platforms. Okay, you following? Good. Period. So, honey, what we are going to do is give you a little bit more about what season 2 is about. Sean, do you want to talk on that?
I can't. You know, I'm not good with my words.
Just say the shit.
I don't know. Well, okay. So, back when we were doing like our pre-planning, because you know we were thinking like, because we went through season 1, it's like, all right, like we wanted to hit on these different topics, but we had good conversations with our different topics that we wanted to hit on.
Yes, indeed.
But as people who, because I think me and Carlton definitely try to challenge ourselves and try to bring in other perspectives when it comes to us living our day-to-day lives so we can be the best people that we can be. We really wanted to sort of, I don't know, expand. Help me use the right terminology, Carlton. Damn it, I can never talk on these things.
What you call
but
me?
Really, I said Carlton. How your name is spelled in my phone.
Oh yeah.
The fact that I have not changed that yet.
Don't. I love it.
But we really just wanted to expand the palette for the podcast and really go about diving into topics easier, because there were some things that we talked about in season 1 that it's like, nigga, we just got 6 inches in. We need to go motherfucking 10 inches. Like, we need that's how it need to be. So we're sort of scaling back with the amount of topics that we're gonna focus in on. But we have a very wide range of guests who are gonna come in and talk about really their different vantage points for the topics that we've disclosed. And are we keeping those a surprise? We're keeping those
no, we can go on, because at this point they'll know what those topics are.
Right. So we decided to focus in on religion, social justice, and pop culture, right? Popular culture. And how, everything Black, everything queer, how those things are intertwined and influence those things. Because those are things that are very, what's it called? Very, I won't say like our lives are centered around those things. Yes, there we go. I could not find the fucking word. But those are things that, especially now, that have just been re-evolving topics, from everything in our upbringing to how we live our adult lives, even to a lot of the issues we're seeing in society. Like, these are some of the major things that affect how we exist as Black gay men and all that other stuff. So we wanted to dive into those things. Another cool thing about it, I wanted to say something. It was something really important I wanted to say.
Was it about the subtopics? Or about the second season?
No, I think I was just gonna bring it back full circle. But anyways,
shit.
Honestly. So with all of that, we really just wanted to provide a holistic experience, not only for ourselves, but for our listeners. So it's not just Carlton and Sean saying what the fuck they want to say, but
shooting the shit.
Right, shooting the motherfucking shit. But really providing one context to how we talk, the way that we talk, and then adding on to just what it means to be Black, gay, and okay, So because I don't know, I'm really excited because I think we have a wide, like a very diverse group of guests who are going to come in and talk about each one of those subtopics. And it's not even just 1 or 2 guests per subtopic. We have like 4 to 5 each topic. So we're gonna have I don't even know how many people did we end up inviting?
We have 14 guests for this season.
Oh, see, we love that. And we didn't really have guests like that last season, y'all. So
we had 4 guests.
5? It was 5. What? No, 4. 5? 4. It was 4.
4, yeah. Because we had 3 and the education episode and Aaron.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And that was a bit of a rough experience. Because we done learned a couple of tricks.
We have.
Squadcast. Squadcast. So I don't know. I'm really excited. I don't know. And I think the other part of it too, and Carlton may want to jump in on this one, but we really want you guys to engage. And I'm looking at the camera like they like
we want y'all to engage.
Right. No, but I think we were looking for a lot more engagement for people, because I think we're really in a space where we just want to sit and listen. And I think that's I'm gonna shut the fuck up after this. But I think, especially in this time right now, with all these things just sort of hitting their boiling point, with it being a major election year, like,
Right.
we need to sit down and motherfucking have conversation, and we need to sit down and motherfucking listen. So I think that's where, I don't know, we are, and that's why we're going about this season the way that we're going about it. So
You're absolutely correct. For me, it's a lot of this season was inspired by the dialogue that was happening in early summer with the continuation of the senseless murders of Black people. And there was a lot of conversation about Black Lives Matter and to what extent all Black Lives matter, and the fact that all Black lives should matter, and it shouldn't be a matter of, oh, you're gay, or oh, you're trans, or oh, you're a woman. Like, the fact that in present day we're still seeking justice for Breonna Taylor makes absolutely no sense. And
yeah,
so to channel the conversation, and even to challenge conversation, because I think a big part of all of that is that it unveiled that time unveiled the fact that there are a lot of conversations that we need to have with each other in the Black community.
right.
And we can expect other communities to champion behind us if we can't turn around and champion behind our own. And
Yeah.
so the reason why we chose religion, social justice, and pop culture is because in so many ways those worlds really push a certain image about identity and our existence, especially as Black queer people. And so religion, that goes without saying, right? And that's actually going to be our first segment, is religion. And then you have pop culture, which is allowing the LGBTQ people to be in that space. But pop culture, we all know, is about trends. It's about what society is finding interesting at that time. But pop culture has been very pivotal, and we're going to talk about Disclosure, Laverne Cox's documentary on Netflix, about how she goes about talking about media representation, and how the trans and queer people that are involved in that project talk about media representation, and how people's mindsets and their understanding of who we are as a community was framed in that space. And then with social justice, I mean, that's the reason why this conversation was inspired. In so many ways, Sean and I have been sharing just other people's media and other people's, it is raining cats and dogs outside, other people's media, other people's conversation, roundtables, memes, be it that you're on one side of the spectrum, the opposite side of the spectrum, or you're like trying to get that holistic understanding of what all of this means from different types of people. And Sean and I, both being scholars, we're like, listen, the only way that we can do our best to remove human bias is by having conversations with people who may have had other experiences.
Right.
Because Sean and I can sit down. We have a lot of shared experiences. We've known each other for a long periodically time, and a lot of our trauma, and we have trauma, though it's different, but it kind of overlaps sometimes. And so we're able to sit down and say, oh yeah, this is how it should be. But in so many ways, it's important to have other people's insight on things, because that's the only way that we're going to work as a people, is if we sit down and have conversation. And I think that's something that we've lost touch with, is having conversation, shutting up, listening to people, and vice versa. You speaking and talking, communicating how you feel. And so I'm excited for us to have this conversation. I'm excited for you all to join the conversation, and we really want you to join the conversation. As we've always said, BGO Pod is a safe space. It is a place for you to come and be as you are, to say what you got to say, but don't get crazy. Say what you got to say in respect
Yeah.
of the human experience and all the above. All
Human
right, Siri,
lives.
I'm not talking to you. Siri just be inserting herself into conversations. I wasn't talking to you, sis. Like, you're not even real. Thank you. Like, damn. But she just popped up out of nowhere. I didn't even say Siri. Oh fuck. I said it. And she popped right back up. Talking about some I don't know how to respond to that. Because I wasn't talking to you. Lord God. Hold on. I'm okay.
Oh.
Like, girl, get the fuck off my screen. Messing up my recording.
Siri on your computer?
Yes. Like, I'm not even talking to you. I'm going to deactivate her. Honestly. Okay. I'm going to stop recording. Okay.
You
And I'm
probably
going to
got some
start.
good stuff anyway.
Yeah, I do. It's probably gonna be cute or whatever. It's not like we're putting the whole thing up, even though that would kind of be cute. But technology.
Right.
But anyway, with
Pandemic
that
life.
being said, okay, like literally. So I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna take a break and then come back and start talking about religion. But bitch, I'm so over. So I was outside and didn't have service. How the fuck? I don't know. I'm in a perimeter, so I should always have service. And I know I live in a dead spot, but like I'm on the phone trying to talk to people, like trying to troubleshoot something. And like, hello, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. And I'm like, you know what? I'm about to punch this fucking phone. I'm about to punch the cell towers, and I'm gonna chop that bitch down and throw it away. I've been so irritated. Anyway, on that note, can we go into a break, Sean? Because
yes, we can.
okay, cool beans. We'll be back.
All right.
In light of Miss Rona, the boys at BGO Pod have adapted a virtual platform to conduct and record interviews with this season's very special opinionated people, or VSOPs for short.
We thank you for bearing with any technical difficulties in advance. This pandemic has been raggedy, but in spite of, the conversations we've had with our VSOPs have been refreshing and were well worth the technical struggle.
This episode is also brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard already, Anchor is the easiest way to start your podcast.
It's everything you need for a podcast in one place. Carlton and I have been using Anchor for a few months now, and we're a bit obsessed.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Don't wait, honey. Your future listeners are waiting.
Now, enjoy the show.
Yeah.
We are back.
Child.
And
The
technology.
ghetto.
It's so ghetto, honey. But we're going to get through it. We're going to get through
The
it.
ghetto, child.
All right. So we're going to just go straight into this conversation. And we're going to talk about religion. Now, the way these conversations are going to go, just to give you a little bit more of a breakdown, Sean and I are going to have a conversation first about the topic at hand, be it religion, pop culture, or social justice. And then we're going to open the floor to our conversation episodes, which is when we're going to invite our guests into the green room and they are going to offer their perspective. And per usual, it's just through the lens of Blackness and queerness. So our first subtopic is going to be religion.
Let us pray.
Let us emoji celebration hands. Yes, that's what they say.
I got on
Celebration hands.
I got the blue on too. You know, the hands are the sleeves are blue.
Who sleeves?
Of the praising hands, the prayer hands.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sure are blue, aren't they? Oh, okay. Well, okay. So we're gonna open up the conversation. This is going to be a loaded topic. So I think for the sake of time, for the sake of us just opening up the conversation, I think it'll be best for Sean and I to just open up about our personal perspectives of how, and we have an episode about this. We've done an episode about religion and blackness and gayness, but I think it's worth exploring to what extent we want to.
I'm so
I
sorry,
swear
y'all. Technology,
we
bro.
we can't win for nothing. We can't win for nothing. God damn. Shit. We over here trying to talk about religion. Hit the devil. The devil just being nasty.
Just trying to
Oh,
fuck shit up.
fucking shit up all the time. Just pooping. A hot turd. Just all over the podcast. Oh. Anyway. So for me,
Right.
like, so I'm a preacher's kid. I grew up a preacher's kid. I'll say that. I think you can not be a preacher's kid, but I grew up a preacher's kid. And that experience was extremely rewarding and equally traumatizing. And I say this because being a preacher's kid, you're surrounded by people, you're surrounded by different types of people. You're surrounded by good people who honestly want to see you do amazing things, who love you regardless and see who you are as a person. And you're also surrounded by people who use religion as a crutch and use religion to bastardize, to demonize, to disconnect from other humans. And of course, there's space in between that for other explanations of people. But for me, those are the extremes that
Right.
I encountered growing up. And so for me, I was I was such a sweet soul. I'm still a sweet soul. But on so many levels, I had to battle all of these different types of people and then had to understand who this person that we were talking about in church was, or this deity, because, we talk about being Christian, we talk about Jesus and being a follower of Christ, and then we talk about God and, how God made the earth in 7 days and made Adam and Eve and made Eve from Adam's rib. And so it was all this conversation about and all these stories about who these people were and being human and trying to figure out where I am, where my identity lies, and all of this. And then being told by people that who I was just wasn't considered socially acceptable or wasn't considered acceptable, hurt. And I got it from my father. I got it from my grandparents. I got it from my mother. I got it from people who were not only close to me, but close to the church and the congregation. And so, for what it's worth, that experience in itself was something that could have pushed me away from who God is. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
um, but it didn't. I was tried. I had a lot of friends in my life who were God fearing, and I've seen God work and Christ work in my life in so many different ways. And so I've been able to solidify my own understanding of what religion is and what the gospel is and what spirituality is. And it's just all been evident in my walk that for what it's worth, I am a Christian. I am Black. I am gay, and it is possible to exist in those spaces um, at one time. Because I've been
Yeah.
trying. Like, Sean, did I tell you about the situation that happened? Remember when I was telling you how I had time, like I was going to make time to go on problematic social media and like tell somebody about themselves? Did I ever tell you that?
Yeah, you did. Well,
Okay.
not You told me about the situation with. Well, was it with the preacher man? The black preacher man.
Oh no, but there probably was a situation with him. That's not the one I'm talking about though.
Oh, gotcha.
But so I've been making time lately, y'all, because these bitches got the right one. They just got the right one. And so, for what it's worth, I always find it important to educate people, especially when people are spewing things that are, and this has come with growth because it wasn't always like this. Um, but I've grown to be in spaces and to really, when some people are silent, I've grown to be very vocal about certain stuff. And so I happened to just wander onto Most on Instagram, and Most is the LGBTQ Instagram profile. And with most, they do nothing but share LGBTQ content, right? And so as they're sharing this content, you would think that whomever was on Most was like here for it, right? Well, that wasn't the case with this man. I'm trying to find the damn post. Most better be posting shit. But where's it at? Anyway, the post was of a scene from Pose when they were protesting against the Catholic Church around the time of the what was the name of that damn protest during that time? I think it was like Stand Out or something. I'm still trying to find the darn post, y'all. This is what happens when you're not prepared. But it was whatever the protest was for the Catholic Church, or that was inclusive of the Catholic Church at that time. And I cannot find this for the life of me, Jesus. They were in the church laying on the floor and basically had a protest during Mass. And it was basically talking about the power of protest. And this was a few days or like a week after everything that was going on with Black Lives Matter and the protests for George Floyd. And so the timeliness was great. However, somebody went underneath it and started trolling. All right. And I had to get them all the way together. Now I'm still trying to find
Right.
this still trying to find this doggone video, Jesus. Give me a second. I know they still got it on here. I wish I could do like a Google search of Instagram profiles. I took screenshots of it and everything. Hold on, I think I may know where to get it from. Y'all, I'm really trying to find this because this read was great. Sean, you mind filling in for the empty time?
I can. Well, I was about to ask you about your cuz your mom was a PK too, right? Cuz your granddad was a preacher as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep. You are absolutely correct.
No, it's just well, I guess I could talk about my experiences while you look for
Yeah,
the
go
post. I
ahead.
don't know,
While I'm
that's
looking for this damn post, because it's hiding from
cuz
me.
right, why you why you digging in the booty hole of Instagram.
Okay.
Um um I don't know. For me, like, I mean, I identify as a Christian, um, but it's not something I'm not like, because it's not like I go to church every Sunday. I don't read the Bible on a regular, but I think the most that I do that's Christian like is, you know, say my grace and I do my prayers every now and then. Typically I do prayers in the morning or whatever. And then I like read inspirational books that have like scriptures or something tied to it that's has a religious context. But I mean, I grew up in the church as well. But it was never like this pressing of like you can't be who you are. And honestly, I think it just goes to, I mean, because we talked last season about like how our parents were, and like we all know my mom to be this person who just like when it came to my sexuality, like it was just acceptance. Even though some things happened that were problematic, like there was this overarching like it's okay. So like when it came to like the church and stuff, like I didn't feel what I was doing was wrong, and this whole idea that you can't be gay or whatever and be religious, like I never got that, but that's how I was brought up.
Right.
And I didn't really experience that type of stuff until I think the turning point for me in religion when it came to my identity was when my uncle, I think I was 17. My uncle called me, and I'm not sure if you remember this or not, Carlton, but he basically asked, he was
I
like,
do.
"Are you a man of God or are you a man of alternative lifestyle?" And due to like, cause my mom like never like, it was never like a this is wrong, this is what the Bible says. Like it was never any of that. And I was still going to church and like doing all of these things. Like I mean, that's where I started stepping at. Like I stepped at the church, like I did all of those recreational things at the church. And those things didn't stop because I began to identify. So when I had my uncle come to me and was like, "Are you this man of God, or are you a man of God, or are you alternative lifestyle?" I was very confused. Like I was genuinely confused. I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Are you a man of God or a man of alternative lifestyle?" And I was like, "What do you mean by alternative lifestyle?"
Say what you're trying to say.
Right. I was like, "Right, say it with your chest."
Right.
Are you a man of, and he started getting into it, and I was like, at that point, I guess that's when my balls really dropped. I mean, I started beating my meat a long time ago, but I guess I guess I can really say that was like one of the first major experiences where it's like, all right, my identity is not welcomed. And religion is one of those spaces. And I ended up going like I held it together on the phone, but I cut the conversation off. And I ended up talking to my mom. And now that I really think about it, because like honestly, I never really came out to my family like that. I didn't talk to them. Like it was we already had dynamics where like I wasn't like super in touch, but my mom was probably filtering information to them as I went through certain things. And I mean for good reason. Like she's gonna talk to her family. That was her support system. But I think a lot of the things that I was going through and things that she may have been struggling with, she began to filter to my family. So I don't know. I don't know what was said in, I guess, her conversation to my uncle, but whatever it was, that I mean, even because what happened after, she ended up calling him, was like, "You can't do that," and da 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 da.
This is after
And it was
talking to
very,
your uncle?
yes, it was very like, you know how like somebody is like, they're apologetic about the situation, but they're not necessarily apologetic about what was said. Like they're apologetic about like the fact that you're hurt, but they're not really apologetic about what was said. When I really think back on that conversation, it was like that you can't do that, like type of energy. I mean at that time, like my mom was still working through some things. because I mean, it was still relatively new to her. So I think that was the first damaging thing. And honestly, from that point, like, I mean, even going into college and, you know, just experiencing a lot of things that I experienced, that's when I then began to feel this sense of this religion thing may not be for me. And I mean, even when it came to, oh my gosh, Carlton, even when it came to, because it really wasn't problem. Honestly, I think I naturally distanced myself from things that could possibly be problematic for me. So, you know, I stopped going to church. I stopped being in those spaces. Like, I just removed myself from a lot of situations as I began to get comfortable in my identity. But religion really didn't start to resurface in my life till relationships. And, you know, when it came to like talking about getting married and having kids, like a lot of the people I've dealt with, whereas one person said, you know, marriage is a sacred bond that's honored by God, and it can't be done with two men. You know, I had another person where it's like, I want to get married to a woman. That's what God wants. God wants us to procreate. You know, I can't be with you and do that. I love you, but I can't. So I think to sort of go back to, I mean, even how you started off your conversation with this idea, like religion has the fundamental things of religion, Christianity, Islam, whatever it may be, they are so good for just everything that the human population is supposed to be. This idea that we're supposed to care for one another, this idea of, you know, you do these good things, good karma, whatever it may be, like you learn these things and you learn how to be a better person. But there's so many things, it ends up being because you have this human bias or this human sort of natural fuck up, and you take those things and people live in their things and they end up doing things that are really problematic. Like, I don't even I need to talk to my therapist after this, because I didn't even think about how traumatic the shit was. But like, for me as a bisexual male, a gay male, I don't know what I am. You know, it teeters back and forth every day. But as a queer identifying male, and it's so funny that you brought up disclosure, because we talk about normalizing these different things. My idea, like, I don't have any sense of normal, because even when it came to things that were supposed to be normal for me, and dating and building these things and working towards like being with someone for the rest of my life, it was completely disrupted by these things that are rooted in religion. And I mean, a lot of the way that, I mean, I feel that we operate is rooted. I mean, because the way that we operate, they go back to our morals at the end of the day. But where did we really learn those morals? It was religion, you know? And I think those things are good, but it's just some of the practices that come with stuff. Like, it's just, it's time for things to, and I won't even say be like changed or reformed, but being married to this idea of what religion is. I think it's time for that to go.
Most definitely.
Did you find the post?
I did. Slack. Okay, so I found some screenshots. And I can kind of summarize everything. But to your point, that's very much true. Because when I was having this conversation with this guy, and was basically because basically the conversation happened, and like he made an initial comment, I responded, and we went back and forth for a second. And he was basically trying to use the Bible to justify the killing of LGBTQ people, right? And so let me read a few of the like his initial comment, and I can go off whim from that. And I want to say that they probably took it off because they saw that comment. It was they saw the back and forth going. That's what I'm thinking happened because I couldn't find it on their page at all. But this guy who remained unnamed because I don't want to. Anyway, he said no one during the start of the AIDS pandemic was killing the LGBTQ community. They chose to participate in sexual acts and they caught the virus. They were killing themselves. If people are dying because they're eating rat poison, the solution isn't to cover the rat poisoning in protective layer, lessening the chance of death. It's to not eat the rat poison at all. Same applies for AIDS and the LGBTQ community. You want to stop the spread and stop the you want to stop the spread, stop the unnatural sexual acts completely. This is the very reason that AIDS killed so many people in that community. And so I saw that and I saw how problematic it was. And nobody was responding to it. And I'm like, this is a pro LGBTQ page and nobody's responding to it. So I was like, fuck that. I'm not gonna let this person know about themselves because they said so many problematic things in here. And there are probably people who agree with what he said simply because of their ignorance. And so I went on and I responded, and I wasn't going to make this my whole day because fuck that. And because he wanted to continue the conversation, I just stopped replying because I said what I had to say, and I got the fuck. And so I responded, the ignorance in this comment, shake my head. There's nothing unnatural about same sex intercourse. What's unnatural is your ability to ignore the purpose of this post. HIV/AIDS affects all people. You can be born with HIV and you can contract it without having sex. Unfortunately, the pandemic disproportionately affects LGBTQ plus people, especially those of color. The LGBTQIA plus community is unjustifiably targeted and bastardized due to the screwed up stigma around who we are and how we exist. Who we love and make love to should not waiver our right to proper preventative health care and comprehensive sexual education. Do your research before you utter any more distasteful words for a community you clearly envy. And don't say you don't, because this beautiful page displays nothing but LGBTQ glory and you took the time to comment. And so he responded, and to what extent, it's not in order. Oh, here it is. He says, I speak no hate. I feel no hate for the community, only a desire to be saved. Only a desire that they be saved, set free, and delivered. I love the community enough to refuse to stay silent. It's either Jesus or your sexuality. You can't have both. If Jesus is on your main line, as you claim, then you know, and I said something about that earlier. I couldn't find that screenshot though. Like you claim, then you know that he commands us to crucify our flesh, and that is to kill our flesh, our desires, to walk along to the spirit and not alter the flesh. Jesus commands that we get rid of our desires for his. May I ask you a question? Ugh. And so I responded, I was like, it's not a matter of having both. I love Christ and understand my validity as a member of the LGBTQ community. And then I said, I'm listening. And the reason why I'm going about this conversation is because I think in so many different ways, especially as Black men, we're just told to not question stuff. If things are happening, we're told not to question it. If we're around abuse, we're told not to question it out of the security of who we are. But I think the problem with that is we become complacent and we want other people to solve our problems. And that's not going to be how we do that. I'm having this conversation with another Black man who probably has had feelings for the same sex, but doesn't know how to work through that because of what he's been told, right?
Right.
And so he responded, he said, do you believe that being gay or whatever orientation you identify with is a gift from God? And so I responded something along the lines of, all my darn screenshots are out of order. I say, yes, I do. I believe that all people with the ability to love unapologetically, unconditionally, advance their communities, and honor the existence of others are a gift from God. Because let's think about it. That's who Jesus was. Jesus was unapologetic in who he was. He was unconditional in who he treated and who he loved. He advanced communities. He gave he gave with the intent to love. He spread nothing but love. Nothing about Christ's existence was for the agony of anybody, right? And
Right.
so I also went on and said, I also believe that all people, regardless of race, color, creed, and sexual orientation, seek their own understanding of the world around them. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not here to go back and forth. I have other things to do, and you're entitled to your opinion as I am entitled to mine. All I ask is that you lead with love, because what you said up there wasn't it. And I said, have a good day, right? And so he went on to my page. I think he went on having a conversation. Oh, this one when he brought up scripture. He said Proverbs 10:12 says, "The blessing of the Lord enriches, and he adds no sorrow to it." If in fact being gay or another non-heterosexual orientation is a gift from God, then what was your community? Why does your community have the highest depression and suicide rates? Why are so many of your community murdered? That is not a gift from God. Any gift from God has absolutely no sorrow, depression, suicide, or murder attached to it. So it is impossible for any orientation other than heterosexual to be a gift from God. And if it isn't, then there's only
But
one
your
other person that
black
gift came from.
ass,
Exactly. Which
your
goes to show.
black ass has the
Mm-hmm.
okay. So this is where, and I guess this is the nitty gritty of the conversation. This
Mm-hmm.
idea that you can't be more than one thing.
Right.
The fact that like we're trying to fit into this because if you really want to put, I guess, take a step back from it. Religion
Mm-hmm.
is a social construct.
Mm.
It is a social construct, and it sits there and puts you in this box of
Mm.
what you should be, how you should live your life, and all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I think the institution of religion and the idea of religion are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can sit there and say that I'm religious, but I do not fuck with the institution of religion because it creates problematic things like this. Because
Mm.
well, let me back up because one, I gotta go off real quick because your nigga, is being black not a gift from God? If you don't shut your ignorant ass up, that shit makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cause you gonna sit there and use that justification for that, but
Mm-hmm.
but you want to sit there and stand and talk about black? No, gone. And he was a preacher, right, or whatever he was, or was that somebody else?
This is somebody else. This is a random
Okay,
person.
whatever he is. How dare you? And this is my real gripe. This is probably a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But I just can't stand when people who have sat there and felt what it means to be oppressed, and for
Mm.
someone to sit there and list out all the problems associated with you underneath your oppression
Mm.
that they cause,
Mm.
and for you to sit there and do that to another group, I will never understand. And that's why I be looking at black folks crazy as a motherfucker, and I be ready to go
Mm-hmm.
off because it really hurts my heart when I sit there and hear people. How dare you use the justification for, and it's not even proper justification.
It's
You sat
not.
there and spit out facts about what's going on in the community. Did you not sit? Okay, first of all, where did you get your facts and what supported them? Did you understand the context of those? Do you understand how many religious figures who spit those scriptures caused that depression, anxiety, suicide rates, all that other shit? You talk about what this
Mm-hmm.
idea of what God has given. Nigga, the only thing unnatural is what you're doing and what people are doing. And that's what people don't understand when it comes to religion. God has
Mm-hmm.
never punished me for who I am. You have.
Right.
Let's get
Right.
that straight. Let's get that straight. And this, I guess, this will really be where I wanted to end up in the conversation, because that's my whole idea of when it talks. When I shifted away from the institution of Christianity or church or whatever, or religion, whatever it may be, my relationship with God was so much better. And this is where I go into my personal tidbit. Your relationship with God is your relationship with God. Your relationship with Jesus Christ is your relationship with Jesus Christ. And it can go across whatever platform it may be. So I don't have to answer to you. I do not. So this whole, this is wrong, nigga, that is not what the higher power is telling me. God has blessed me. God has blessed me in several ways.
Tenfold.
God blessed me with the ability. God has blessed me with the ability to sing, the ability to write the fuck out of some music, the ability to do things like this,
to lead, to be a walking embodiment of who he is,
to spread light.
Yep.
I think, and Carlton, it really frustrates me because I don't understand how people get so far gone and like you're not spreading light, and you're actually contradicting the shit that you're trying to support.
Right. So let me tell you how I wrapped up the conversation. Because I said everything that you're saying now, I definitely put a pin to it, because you're absolutely correct. Him saying that as a Black person is completely, it's him using that as justification for the LGBTQ community, is using that as justification for the senseless murders of Black people, right? And so that's when I had to do some research, because I didn't respond to that because I felt tried. And so he goes on 9 minutes later and he says, interesting how you had no response.
He had you bent.
Right. And so he was like, interesting how you had no response because you know it's true. So I felt tried. So I came back and I said, I just hopped on your page and saw nothing at first glance.
Double tried.
But right. I said, I just hopped on your page and saw nothing at first glance but Black Lives Matters post. I love it because I too believe that Black lives matter. Black lives should be treasured, correct? Because we are gifts from God. Just like the LGBTQ community, Black folk have given the world bliss, innovation, and love since the beginning of time. Would you use this scripture to justify the senseless murders of Black people? No. Would you use this scripture to justify why Black mothers are more likely to die at childbirth, another gift from God, due to a prejudice and unjust medical system? No. So transfer your homophobic energy elsewhere. Right. Do better. I'm no longer responding. So he goes on and he responds, I would hope you had, and this is when his grammar really is just, ugh. I would hope you had responded. This is me making it better, by the way. And not just stop because I share an opinion that is different from your own. And so you see how his energy has changed. Because at this point, he's open to conversation.
You're defending. Right.
But he's open for conversation because I feel like he doesn't believe what he's saying. I feel like this is what he's been told.
He's been
and
taught.
This is why he feels like he cannot express himself because he has that confinement that you were talking about, that box weighing on his back. Because I went to his page and he is a very gay man. Just by you know, when you go on somebody's profile, you be like, oh yeah, they like men. Like he gives that off. His Instagram oozes LGBTQ, DL, not even DL. Like it's just gay. He just oozes gayness. But he's probably been demonized because of it before. And these are probably the scriptures that he's internalized and has used to as a result of his self-hate. And this is me assuming anything. I don't know this man. He's a stranger. But his tone, and I'm not going to go on and read whatever he said because I stopped responding, so it doesn't even matter. But he literally pulled out a scripture, and this is the problem. You're pulling out scripture and using it to justify something and not even realizing to what extent you're saying these things and how it can
and what it's actually and how it's impacting.
Right. How it's impacting and it's all and how it's contradictive. Because on your profile is nothing but Black Lives Matter shit. And you're over here telling me that a blessing from God has no sorrow or agony, but Black people's lives are at the expense every day. Like, I just don't understand how you can live in that weird parallel universe, but tell me that I can't love Christ and know Christ and be gay at the same time. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And so I said what I had to say. I educated, and I will continue to educate because I'm not afraid of it anymore. There was a point in time where I was really scared to voice how I felt because I used to be reprimanded for it. I was always told to stay in a child's place, and so in present day, I'm working through that anxiety. And you and I had a conversation yesterday how I'm working through that anxiety of expressing my feelings because I deserve it.
Yeah.
You deserve, and for anybody that's listening right now, you deserve to stand on your 2 feet and say what the fuck you got to say. You have a voice, which is probably the most powerful tool that we've been instilled with, and you deserve to utilize your voice to to stand true in who you are. Because being human is hard, right? But when you start to add those other things and you start to add being disadvantaged and you start to add being disenfranchised and you start to add being discriminated against because of these things, it gets harder. And that's the biggest thing that I have with any type of privilege. Recognizing your privilege is not to denounce that your life is difficult, but who you are and how you identify isn't one of the things that are making your life difficult.
Right.
And how it impacts, because our existence, you and I, Sean, we're men. We have a privilege over women. And to say that we don't is completely denouncing history. It's evident. It is evident.
Denouncing the whole context.
All of it. And so when we're having these conversations over the next couple of months, I think it's really important that we just remember the human part of it all. Because religion should not be used to make other people feel. First off, there are thousands of religions. And because humans have a terrible, terrible power complex, and the actual spread of Christianity was extremely animalistic and it wasn't of God.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very forced. And so even in that space,
even like
you know,
even with the context of, because I mean a lot of people of color in America are Christian, but you sit there and look at our history, our ancestors were not Christian. They were not Christian in the slightest bit. They actually talk about how they stripped away our religion and this idea of the Black church was born because they took that and refined it into something else. So for me as a logical person, and I think you said something very critical. We don't sit and question things. We've just been so conditioned to sort of sit in these things. When it really came to religion, I took that journey myself. And
correct.
I'm not a Bible thumper, I don't know scriptures off the top of my head or whatever, but I understand Christ and I understand God very firmly. So I never got anything less than warm. And it's funny that he talked about, these things of sorrow, all these other things. God enriches you. Like he adds to you. When I talk to God and I have these conversations, it's always enriching. What's not enriching is the fact that you have gay correction camps and you're forcing people to feel something unnatural that they actually don't feel. You're trying to force heterosexuality on them. This idea that you have to be married before you have sex, and you shouldn't know anything about sex until you get married, and you don't learn about STDs and um, how to properly take care of your body. We just sit here and these things and just let these things happen. I mean, even when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like abortion and Planned Parenthood, shit, even getting into people's lives. I saw this episode on, the show Designated Survivor, where they didn't want, a baby was about to die. Like the baby was born with like a very serious heart condition. They could fix the problem, but they were not allowing, like they were actually boycotting to
Mm-hmm.
like, and like it was such a difficult situation. But I think, and this is another point I really want to hit on, or what I'm hitting back on, this idea of intersectionality. Like we're not defined
Mm-hmm.
by this one thing, and this one thing can create problems for other identities and situations. So going back to this, the woman, they were I'm not sure what religion they were, but they couldn't get basically modern medicine. Like they had this idea that God would heal everything, naturally, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever God's will would be God's will. But you live in America, baby. You're neglecting your child. You're neglecting your child. Your child really may die. And you can tell she was just so torn. She was like, I want to be a good mother. I have the resources to save my child, but my religion. And it's like, honestly, going back to and I'm so glad I defined religion as an institution and then religion like the ideology, because I think she was married to the institution.
Mm-hmm.
God was probably telling you, baby, sis, come on. When you have this, and I equate my gut, like when you have that gut feeling, I equate that to
Yeah.
God talking to you.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's
Intuition.
relevant in the context of the episode, but that hesitation that she had, she was, I want to, like, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like, what if he does this? And I'm like, baby girl, that's God. That's you leaping out on faith, and not
Mm-hmm.
only this going against the grain and just not knowing what's going to happen, like you going
Mm-hmm.
against your quote unquote religion. Honestly, I feel like in that moment God was really talking to you, and he
Mm-hmm.
wanted you to trust him, not trust the people who were talking for you. Because through the whole
Right.
episode, it was this the pretty much the leader of the congregation. Like he was setting up the protest because basically they were trying to move them out of you had the congregation locked up in a house that was in a wildfire zone. But basically they were staying in there until the baby got released from child protective services, because she was neglecting the child by like basically letting not letting the child get operated on. But it's like she was so in that the congregation and what the congregation was saying, she really was not like listening to reason. And I feel like that's what consistently starts to happen, and that's how it ends up impacting people like us, people of
Right.
color. And we get so gung-ho in this, it has to be like this. No, it doesn't.
Right.
I'm sorry, it's a social construct too. And what you didn't go and experience it for yourself. And even if you did,
Yep.
even if you did experience it for yourself and you know the value of God's love, the minute you try to devalue someone else because they have a different experience with the Lord and they choose to live their life a different way, that's where you fucked up.
Yep.
That's not God fucking up their life. That's you fucking up their life.
Right.
And that's what people don't realize.
You are
So I
absolutely
don't know.
correct.
I have a lot of mixed emotions right now. I have a
And I,
lot of mixed emotions
and I mean, for what it's
because
worth.
it's so rooted.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
But yeah, like for what it's worth, like everything that you said, it is truth. It's the man-made institution and an active nature, right? And for what it's worth, we could all be wrong, right? So why is it that we can't sit back and think about the fact that there's another person that could be affected by what we're doing, how we're doing it, what we're saying, how we're saying it, and that be enough for us to be able to at least empathize in that moment, regardless of your beliefs, your morals, because it's crazy because we can sit here and we can hash out why it's so inappropriate to be gay, why it's so inappropriate to be trans, why it's so inappropriate to have sex before marriage, but somehow, some way, you can justify the uncle or the male figure in the family that's been touching and raping the younger boys and girls, and y'all don't want to bring that up. Like y'all don't want to talk about the oppression in the family, but somehow, some way, this happy boy or girl is discovering who they are, and for some reason you just can't connect to that because of something that you may not truly understand, because it goes against who you are and your existence in so many different ways.
Right.
And so it's just important
It's
that
just
when we're
so
having those
many.
conversations, that you just
I don't know. It's just
remember being a human.
it's a level. It's a level of self-awareness that people just need to find. And I think, honestly, I feel like America's probably the worst. Granted, other countries go through their issues, but I feel like America's like top tier, like our self-awareness. Yeah. Child, the devil is fucking with us.
It
It's
is,
because
but
we're
he can
talking
kiss
about
our
real
ass.
shit.
He, she, whoever the fuck.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't even know what I was
Yeah,
saying. I lost my train of thought. I don't know. It's just there's so many
yeah.
more layers to things than what we give them. And it's like you because we sit and jump behind these ideals and stuff, and it's like, all right, you actually see them in context. You really want and let's think this through certain scenarios. You really want a woman who was raped and has been raped countless number of times, sit through a pregnancy for 9 months, have a child. The amount of just mental instability you can go through with that. And there are women who do things like that, which I commend them for. That is a beautiful story. You know, Shonda showed that in Grey's Anatomy. Through one of her situations. But it's like
Right.
there's nothing wrong with the woman who doesn't. And honestly, what really starts to show, and this is what people really don't want to talk about, it goes back to the whole power thing
Right.
and who's in privilege.
Yep.
Religion favors men.
Mm-hmm.
It downplays the fuck out of women. So we want to sit here and talk about what's problematic and talk about what being gay is and what being trans is. No, have you talked about what your actual identity and what's problematic with it? No, you haven't. So say and especially when you're trying to justify more fucked up shit that you're doing to other people. Like, don't say you can miss me with that, because that's no. And this just point blank period for me. That's not my God. And I know it's not my God. So you can kiss the blackest part of my ass with all of that energy, to be honest. And that's how I want to end. That's my
Well, I think that set up.
anyways.
I think that set up a good
What do you have
foundation
for the
for our
people, Carlton?
conversations going forward. So, I mean, y'all know how Sean and I feel at this point. Within the next 2 weeks, we're going to continue the conversation. One with my good friend, my roommate, and my course brother, Nick, who is a choral director in the Georgia public school system. And he is also a preacher's child. Both of his parents are ordained ministers, and he does core. He's educated in like music performance, but he's also done choral work with gospel choirs. And so I want to say he's been a director of music or a minister of music at his church, and he started a gospel choir at his college. And so he'll be able to give a good amount of insight on his perspective. And then we'll also have Lucas and Sherry coming on. And those are Sean's guests. So do you mind giving a little bit of background on who they are and why the people should tune in next week to hear from them, or the following week whenever we roll this out?
Yeah. Lucas is Lucas is a motivational speaker. And he doesn't necessarily have like a background in religion, but he draws a lot of I don't know, sort of his ideology, and I don't know, his story is just very interesting, and where he is with his faith and his what's the word for it? I'm blanking. Oh my goodness. But where he is in his life right now, I think it provides an interesting perspective on how we use religion, and how we sort of operate in our day-to-day lives. Sherry in particular, I think that's going to be definitely our sort of academic perspective, because she's a graduate student, religious studies, with a focus on public health and how religion impacts basically how people take care of themselves and their wellness. So I think it's going to be very interesting conversation, very different conversation, and very different vantage points from each guest.
Okay. Well, y'all stay tuned. The conversation got heated today, but it's probably going to be rounded off. Probably going to still be very passionate because all of these people, at least from what I know about Lucas particularly and Nick, are extremely passionate individuals and are going to offer that holistic perspective. And feel free to join the conversation. Let us know your thoughts on our Instagram, on our YouTube, and fill us in, bruh. We really want to know. We really want to hear from y'all because we understand that we need to have these conversations. And everybody that we're inviting on the show this year,
Right.
I keep saying year, Jesus, this season, it's Black, and it's going to be able to offer that commonality, the fact that we have a very Black experience, and we know to what extent all of these things have affected our Black ass lives. And so, for what it's worth, I think that's a good little shebang bang wang wang. Anything you want to leave the people with?
Oh yes, girl, do your squats. This girl is pushing the stroller,
Amen, honey.
and doing her lunges.
She better do.
Go ahead. She said, "I'm
She
like,
better do that, honey."
no." And then she got the other child. No, then she got the other child
Doing
following
okay.
behind
All
her in the
right.
scooter.
She said, I'm about to be a mother and stay slim thick.
She
Period.
right. No, she said,
Right.
y'all need to get out the house and I need to
So
work out.
you,
So
stroller, you get the scooter.
um
You gonna scoot as I stroll.
right. But right. No, I think for me though, I don't know. I feel very different at the conclusion of this episode than I felt in season 1 with our episodes. Like
Mhm.
I'm very indifferent right now. Um cuz it's like how do we navigate just the like because I think I hit on it perfectly with like just all of the different layers behind stuff. It's like I'm so indifferent about it. I mean, but I guess with that, and what I can leave for the people is like I think
Uh,
we need to not run away from that feeling, and really explore what some of these things look like because it's like I can sit here as a black gay male and talk about I don't like the fact that religious figures prosecute people like me. I can sit there and complain about it all day, but if I'm not sitting there and trying to get into those spaces and have those conversations and trying to work towards a solution, then it's not worth it. So, or it's not worth it, but it's just as problematic. So, um I don't know. I think we don't need to be married to how we think about things, and I think we need to be very open to I don't know, just having conversation for the better and just for the better
yeah.
treatment of everyone at this point in time. Like that's what I am. Like, don't be scared of this feeling like, all right, this is different from what I know, but
Right.
let me see what's going on.
So for
What
me,
about you?
all of those things, but I know discomfort is
Yeah.
where growth and where change comes from. And it's good
Mm-hmm.
to always challenge these things because it helps you be a better person. I think ignorance is bliss as long as you're
Yeah.
under the age of 5. But I believe I remember having an opinion very early in life, and people saying your opinion doesn't matter when it does. Um, and I think religion, I think
yeah.
social status, I think pop culture, you know, politics, all that stuff. You really start to embody who all that is and your placement and all of that at a very early age, and you continue to explore that. Like as humans, we're very fluid, but we think very linear. We think about the past, we think about the present, and we think about the future. But we don't think about how the universe is,
Yeah.
doing what it's doing in all those different
Yeah.
spaces. And it's so interconnected. And
Interconnected. Right. Because
exactly,
things are
and you hit on a really good
simultaneous.
word,
Yeah.
intersectionality. We have to
Yeah.
realize that we're rounded. You know, it's different parts of us. Like I know for a fact because my grandfather is currently on ancestry.com.edu. I know that I'm triracial. I have black blood. I'm more black than I am white, but I have white blood, and I'm more white than I am first American. But I'm considered triracial. That's the word we use, and we're able to track back our lineage. Crazy thing is, white people be knowing they
Mm-hmm.
know the sins of their ancestors. And so, in so many ways, it's harder for us to prove our ancestry to some white people because some
Right.
white people have done everything that they can to eliminate that and to burn that part of their lineage. And I say all that to say it's scary. It's scary
Mm-hmm.
not knowing. It's scary that the uncertainty is scary and it can be very hard, but indifference isn't a bad thing. And trying to navigate through this space, I think it's just very important that we remember the validity in our existence. You matter. Everything about you matters. All Black lives matter, not just the cisgender ones. All all of us matter. And for what it's worth, and I really want to, I think I want to close out with this. Yes, and do not take this out of context. All lives do matter, but all lives cannot matter until Black lives matter. And the reason why saying all lives matter is problematic is because it's a contradictive statement. It's made in contrary to Black lives matter being made as a statement. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. And for some reason, people who shout around all lives matter completely forget that Black people are being disproportionately affected by the very system that did not want us to be successful. So it makes sense in 2020 that we're screaming this because we had 2 terms of a Black ass president that did what he had to do and scared America shitless so much that they elected a Neanderthal and a reality star, a reality show star into office. And now they're just confused as to why things are going to shit. He wasn't qualified. Our Blackness qualifies us for a lot, though, and that scares a lot of people. But in all of that, just remember your value. Remember who you are as a person. Remember God loves you. And remember that your existence, whether or not you believe in God, whether or not you believe in the institution, whether or not you believe in the idea, your existence as a person matters. And for me, as somebody who does nothing but spread love, I just want to make sure that everybody listening knows that I love you, even if I don't like you, just for the simple fact that the human experience is something that's built off of connection. And the most perfect thing that we do as imperfect beings is love. So that's where I'm at, baby. I think we good to wrap up the episode. We can't wait to introduce y'all to Nick, Lucas, and Sherry in the coming weeks. And stay tuned, period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all be breezy.